So it's been a long day. We got up at 6. We've been working all day. I will admit I'm a little bit tired, but that's why I was going to do these video blogs, right? To, once and all, just pull back the curtain a little bit and keep you guys informed about what we're doing over here. I was going to talk a little bit about trust, because that's what Kickstarters are all about at the end of the day. Do you trust me to give me money to basically pre-order something? And at some point I'll talk about that. I was going to talk about why I can actually deliver this thing to you. I was going to talk about my production director years and my familiarity about how projects run. But I'll do that another time as well. And then I was going to talk about projects, backup plans, milestones and that type of thing, because I actually think it's really important. But you know what I want to talk to you about is I actually want to talk to you about the game. So let's just talk about what Torn Armor is. So Torn Armor is a fantasy squad-based skirmish board game based in the Torn world. Boss, don't hang me. I know we're going to change the name of what Torn is. But what does that mean? What does that phrase mean? You know, maybe tomorrow I'll tell you about what the Machians are. And maybe the day after I'll tell you what the Sisk are. And maybe I'll introduce you one day to what the other factions are. And seriously, one day I hope that we can hit some really great funding and do some stretch goals and bring in a third or fourth or a fifth faction. And if we can't, that's great. We'll just do it another time, right? But I want to give you an overview, just for now, about what this game is about. We're going to do some gameplay videos. You'll actually be able to see the game in motion, which will be fantastic, I'm sure. But let's just talk at a high level for a moment. Squad-based, what does that mean? Well, you know, a lot of you have probably heard of Warhammer. It's a small title that floats around out there. But you probably, when you picture that, you're picturing thousands of minis, certainly hundreds of minis, highly painted, quite an expensive hobby, table tennis-sized tables, and an all-day event, right? I love the likes of Warhammer. I love wargaming in general. Believe me, I got introduced into Dungeons and Dragons through Napoleonic wargaming. I remember very fondly spending entire summers in a converted attic with thousands of highly painted miniatures replaying the Battle of Waterloo. It will be like my favourite memory of life. But what about if you're short on time? What about if, you know, you just want to sit down with some friends and you just want to play for an hour or a couple hours? Or maybe you want to get in a few games really quick. What if your budget's actually a little bit tighter? What if you can't afford 500 full metal miniatures? Or even, you know, let's face it, some of the plastic miniature costs nowadays. And what if you just want to be able to set up quick, you want to be able to play a few games, have a laugh with some friends, call it a day and move on? Well, that's where Torn Armor comes in. Torn Armor is all about quick gameplay, quick setup, reasonable costs, a very reasonable entry level, and a system that isn't going to require you that you constantly update the rules, buying new expansion packs or buying new books, or suddenly we release you know, a card deck that completely means that everything that you previously bought doesn't matter anymore. We're not going to do anything like that, okay? So what is it exactly? Squad-based means that there are fewer units on the board. A board is actually made up of 5-inch hexes. I'll actually show you one of those in one of the future video blogs. And inside that hex, you're going to place either one huge honking miniature that we're going to call an assault unit, or you're going to place 3 to 8 smaller miniatures. Imagine 5 hoplites, or maybe 7 or 8 little moo slingers. Those are the mouse guys. That's a unit, okay, or a squad. You're going to get, at the beginning of the game, according to the scenario rules, X amount of gold. And you can buy those squads based upon their cost on a card. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that the scenario says that each side gets 120 gold, and the moose slingers are going to cost 20 gold. Great, you can buy a unit of moose slingers. Now you got 100 gold left. Now what are you going to buy? Well, you decide that you actually want to buy one of the light elementals too. That's 40 gold. Okay, now you're down to 60. And it goes like that until you build your force. And you can decide what it is. Do you want to go long range? Do you want to go melee? Do you want to just field a couple of really heavy units with nothing like skirmishers, or to shield them? How do you want to do it? Obviously, the more units you've got, the more choice you've got. But at the end of the day, the core set will give you everything you need to be able to play. Lay down your battle mats. They'll be double-sided. You can lay down 1, 2, or 4, however many you want, or what the scenario dictates. Lay down the units that you picked out, and believe me, it'll be quick to do so. Did you decide to buy any spells? Maybe for your spellcasters, aside from what they have on their card? You can use them too. Did you buy any magical items to go and maybe equip your hoplite units with? You can do that as well. Lay them all out. And then very quickly, literally I'm talking about 8 to 12 moves or so, like bam, 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 play against a friend, or even up to 4 friends around the table at any one time, and play out the scenario. And like I say, I'm going to show you the actual gameplay at some point. But that's what the squad-based aspect is. I'm talking about, you might have, you know, like 10 units on a board, or like 10 figures on a board. You might have 40 figures on a board, but they don't get much bigger, you know. We're talking about something that's a little bit more intimate. We're talking about something where each individual miniature there means something, where you're going to become attached to the actual squads and the units. In fact, let me give you an example. You're not going to buy a hoplite unit. That hoplite unit is going to be named. You might actually have another hoplite unit as well, with a different name and slightly different abilities and slightly different gold cost. So you're actually buying something that's a little bit more closer to the ground, so to speak. And that's what you're going to get to play with. Now, the fantasy aspect obviously means that yes, there are hoplites, and yes, there is a little mouse guy, and there's a serpent guy, and there will be ape guys, and there will be Colossus, or the rhino-headed guys, and minotaurs, and, you know, there's everything out there, including the priests, and the magic users, and the fireballs, and the flying creatures. Who knows what we can unlock in the future? In fact, there will be a limited edition miniature, only available through the Kickstarter, that, believe me, you will flip out about when you see it. I'm talking about it's going to stand this tall. It's going to be a monster. So, that's the fantasy aspect. In fact, if you get in on the current Kickstarter that's going on right now through Center Stage Miniatures, they're doing the miniature line for Torn World. It's called Dark Fairy Tales. It's really, in many ways, got absolutely nothing to do with Torn Armor. But only through that Kickstarter, the miniatures you buy through it, the creatures you buy, the heroes and the anti-heroes that you buy, they will all come with a Torn Armor unit card. And now you know that a unit card has a gold cost. You will be able to play it in your games. You want to play the Lich King? Get in on the Center Stage Miniatures, because that's the only way that you'll be able to do it, I see, for the foreseeable future, because the guy is just off the charts in his abilities. You want to be able to play red on the board as a hero? You can do that. So consider taking a look at that as well, and it will actually give you an early glimpse at the unit cards out there and exactly the types of things that are on them. So that's the fantasy aspect of it, and now you understand the skirmish aspect of it too, and you understand it's actually a faster paced game with a way more affordable entry point into it. What I'll do is tomorrow I'll actually tell you a little bit about the Torn World aspect of it. What does that mean, right? What is the Torn World? Well, you know, the whole point of us actually doing this game in the first place is to introduce you to Torn, to introduce you to the people, the races, the cultures, the history, and the lore. And you've already started seeing the images. And a lot of you are actually, whoa, what is this? Will there be RPG supplements? Firstly, yes, there will be. But secondly, this is our way of showing you. I mean, we could come up with a computer game. We could come up with a book about it. We could do an RPG supplement. We wanted to do this board game. So whether you're into just miniatures, they will rock. Whether you're into the setting, it's actually pretty cool. Or if you're into the skirmish-like board game, which is always fun, this is honestly going to be of interest to you. So tomorrow I'll tell you about the Torn World. I hope this didn't drag on too much, and I hope I didn't look too tired. Always an absolute joy talking to you all. So until then, oh, and another note, I think I'm going to start holding up little things at the beginning that gives you a title, and maybe I should hold up credits or something at the end, because it's always kind of awkward coming in or leaving, and I always look like a little bit of a dope in that first frame. At some point I'll figure out how to edit these things. Until then, you get Faden raw. Thank you guys.